Hi, my name is Israel Favela, and I've been meaning to make a video on an overview of why I feel math competitions are important, especially for elementary and middle school. It's not so much that I want to not neglect high school, and I think it's super important then too. But if I'm being honest, my son's in that age range of elementary and middle school, and I just find it super helpful and beneficial for them to compete in math. So what I want to do is just kind of go over an overview of all the competitions that are available internationally in the nation, in Texas, and even here in El Paso. So let's jump right into it. So the first thing that I want to cover is basically, what this video is going to be about. So why competing in math is powerful, and what each major competition looks like, and what skills each test builds, and which age group can participate. So again, this is mainly for elementary and middle school. High school for sure offers it, but right now I'm only focusing on elementary and middle school, okay? Why compete in math? So here's what I find that has been a benefit for the kids that I've been helping out compete in math that have been in elementary is the critical thinking has been definitely a thing that's helped them out. They learn to problem solve creatively and not just memorize steps. Now, granted, some of the competitions do require them to memorize and just kind of do recall, but it's just like a mixture of all these different types of exams. It's not necessarily just recalling. The next thing is the speed and accuracy. So it helps with fluency, mental math, and confidence. The confidence portion is the one that I'm very a big proponent for competing in math, because my theory is that if they see it and get used to being in an environment where they're competing under pressure, and they study for it, and they can build the confidence in knowing that they prepared and have the trust in themselves and the confidence that, hey, I'm ready for this exam because I prepared for it. And it's not so much based on emotion. And yes, granted, they're going to be nervous, but I want them to develop confidence in knowing that they prepared for it, which will, help them prepare for the state exams or the SAT or, any future exams. The other one is a growth mindset. So they learn to embrace challenge and not run from it. So these can be very challenging. A lot of times what people think in these competitions that, hey, I'm good at math in school, I'm going to jump right into it and it's going to be fairly simple. Now, they are going to be challenged. And it just really depends on the way of thinking that they have. A lot of times with the growth mindset, it'll help them develop it if they just kind of continue, just like with anything else, not necessarily just with math. The independence and confidence, solving something that, that's tough, gives them pride and ownership, kind of goes hand in hand with the growth mindset. And the last thing is just future preparation for SAT, ACT, Algebra 1, or any future exams, or, they may have in class, or if they decide to go to college or university. So that's why I feel competing in math is super important. So the first ones that I want to go over is the Texas competition. So there's two of them. The first one is the TMSCA. And the TMSCA, basically what that is the Texas Math and Science Coaches Association. And then there's UIL. They go hand in hand. So one's a private company, which is the TMSCA, and the UIL is the governing body that is in charge of the competitions here in high schools in Texas, the public schools, right? So the difference between the two is that TMSCA, which is, they only offer number sense, math, calculator, and science. And it's typically for, like I said, they do offer it from third grade all the way to seniors, but because I'm only focusing on elementary and middle school, they do offer it from third to eighth grade, and sometimes they even allow first graders and second graders to compete, given that they're ready. The other thing about TMSCA is that there's many competitions throughout the school year. There's invitationals and online meets. So we've already had a group of elementary kids with my son and within his elementary that have competed at middle schools against other middle schoolers as well. So you can do it in person, or you can do it online, or you can do both. So that's the beauty about the TMSCA. Another thing is that your campus, they must be a member. So they have been charging right now $50. It could change, but right now it's $50 for them to be able to be a member. And from there, they're able to order resources, The resources aren't free, but it is very helpful and beneficial if you guys can fundraise within the campus. And then the competitions, they do end up charging for the competitions itself. We just finished one that was the online fall meet, and then there's going to be one later on, which is the state meet, which is going to be in April. And for the nice thing also is that there's a state meet that they can go in person in March for middle school. They do have to hit a certain threshold, a certain qualifying score. And then there's also one for high school as well. But I just feel like that being in that environment is just awesome for them to build up that confidence. The other one is UIL. So UIL is they have so many more topics than just the math. They have oral reading, they have speech and debate, they have history. There's just way more chess. There's a lot more. But because I'm only focusing on math and science, those are the ones that I'm focusing on now. The only thing is that they do have certain limitations in when they offer the number sense. Like for instance, 4th through 8th graders are the only ones that can take the number sense. The math is 6th through 8th, the calculator is 6th through 8th, and then the science is 6th through 8th. Whereas in TMSCA is that they offer it from 3rd grade all the way through 8th grade. And like I said, they also offer it in high school. The competitions are only once a year. That's the only downfall as well. There's only one competition for UIL for elementary and middle school, and that's if the district offers it. So the competition for this one, it depends on when the district offers it. So here I highlighted March, but that's usually for high school. But for Isleta Independent School District, they offered it this past December, whereas in other districts they may offer in March. So it just really depends. The other one is the resources are free. So if you guys go on and type in UIL A+ Academics, they decided to make all these resources for free, which I can go into depth when I just kind of solely focus on each topic and kind of let you guys know where that's at, okay? But that's TMSCA and UIL, okay? I want to go more depth into the specific types of math competitions that TMSCA and UIL offers, also science. So the number sense test, like I had mentioned before, for TMSCA, it's usually 3rd through 8th grade, and sometimes they allow 1st graders or even 2nd graders to compete. And then UIL, it's only 4th through 8th grade for the number sense. Now, number sense, it's only a 10-minute test. There's 80 questions, and it's mental math only. So the skills that it'll build is the mental math, pattern recognition, and number fluency. So I did want to go over a type of test that is offered. Now, this is free resource. If you Google TMSCA samples, it'll go over, it'll give you this link to the Google Drive. So this is what it looks like, right? So here, you can only use a pen. It is 10 minutes long, as you guys can see in number 2. You can only write in ink, no pencil. So whenever you come in over here, this is what it looks like. So basically, you can see 1 through 10, it's addition, multiplication, and you start going further into it. You start getting into more multiplication tricks and other tricks. So with this one, I like it. It's a short test, but it really helps with the recalling and just kind of knowing a plethora of tricks for multiplication and what have you for division and all these other tricks. So that's what the number sense test looks like, right? And again, that's only 10 minutes and there's 80 questions. If you skip, you get points off. For every question you get right, you get 5 points. So it has its own system that we can go into detail later on. The next one is the general math. And that one, you can use scratch work. That one is for 3rd and 8th grade as well. 2nd graders can take it, 1st graders can take it. For UIL, it's only 6th through 8th grade that they offer it. Now, this is a 40-minute test. They have 50 questions that they can answer. And I like this one because it has like a deep conceptual reasoning. They have like multi-step problems. They can do scratch work on this one. They don't have to do it in pen. They can write on the test. They can write on scratch paper. So let me show you an example what one looks like. So if I come over here, this is the math one. So it's kind of like a Scantron. So once they once they circle their answer, they're going to have to write it on a separate sheet of paper, their response. But either way, the first few questions are usually multiplication, division, addition, subtraction, and then they start going more into depth of the other different math. So this is math. The highest level is 5th grade. So the thing I like about it is like if they're in 3rd grade or 4th grade, they can learn grades, math that's above their grade level. which they'll put them on top, and then, and like, let's say for instance, my son's in 4th grade, he's already learning 5th grade math and 6th grade math. So what's going to help him is for the test, for the START test, it's just going to seem not as stressful for him because he's already been learning all this math, right? So this is what the math test looks like. Again, I wouldn't say necessarily that it's increasing in difficulty, but I mean, it does progress a little bit, but sometimes there's questions in here, like on the last page, that they can answer that are usually, they have to fish for them. And I like these because it gives them the answer choices at the end. So that's what the math one looks like, right? That's a general math. Again, it's 40 minutes, 50 questions. The next one's calculated applications. I believe this is the perfect one to start off with if your child is not very confident in math. The number sense on the general math can be pretty intimidating, but the calculator one, for some reason, it really attracts a lot of kids because they, especially if they're real meticulous about wanting to enter things right into the calculator, it's perfect for them. Again, the age range for TMSCA is the same. 2nd grade or even 1st grade can participate. And then for UIL, it's usually 6th to 8th grade. And it's a 30-minute test. They have 80 questions, and it just, once they get familiar with the calculator, I just noticed that their knowledge with everything else kind of feeds off of it. And with being efficient on the calculator, what's helpful is that it's not so much used as a crutch, but just knowing where the buttons are, especially like at 3rd grade, they're looking for the button that's pi. They're gonna ask, well, what is pi? And we can tell them it's the ratio. And then there's also the square root symbol, there's a scientific notation. So they're gonna be asking questions as to why they're using this. So they're gonna be exposed to a lot of things a lot earlier. So let me show you what a calculator one looks like. So the types of calculators that I recommend is HP Prime or the TI Inspire, but different types of calculators can be used for this one. There's one that's that if they have the RPN, the reverse Polish notation, a lot of times that's super helpful because it just becomes a little bit more, it becomes way more efficient if they get familiar with the reverse Polish notation. But again, this is 30-minute test. There's 80 questions. They do have to write the answers in scientific notation with 3 significant digits, and we can go over that in a separate video. But this is what it looks like. So you have, on the elementary, they have the first 10 as number crunchers. So if you can see all the way through 10, the number crunchers are there, and then 11, 12, and 13, those are more like your word problems. So the first page looks like that. The second page, the number crunchers get a little bit more advanced. They start using, different types of brackets and curly brackets and parentheses. And then the last 3 questions are word problems. And then it starts changing a little bit. The next few, it becomes less number crunchers. There's 2 word problems, and then there's 2 geometry. And then the pattern continues after that in the same fashion. So with this, I just feel like the strategy would be for them to do the number crunchers and get efficient with that. And then once they can answer all the way to a certain page, and they start going over the word problems and the geometry. I've just found this one to be more welcoming in the sense of, students are more willing to explore this one and be more brave in this one, because really it's just them and them being able to double check their work on the calculator. And so I've just found that to be a lot more friendlier for the kids. The next one, and I'll be completely honest with you, is the science one. I have very little knowledge about that one, but what I've been doing is using ChatGPT for sure to help me categorize them. And I've been finding that there's just, different types of topics that we can explore together, like the planetary system and stuff like that. So I still want my kids to participate in them. That exposure is great, and then we'll study little by little. But again, it's 3rd through 8th grade. 2nd grade can participate. 6th to 8th grade is being tested for UIL. Again, all these topics are high school as well, but I'm just focusing on elementary and middle school. And here's what the science test looks like. So if you come over here, the science test, it's going to be 40 minutes, 50 questions, and it gives them an information sheet, the periodic table, and it starts asking questions about, different scientists, different topics of science. And I just think it's great for them to be exposed to that as well. So that's the TMSCA and UIL competitions in a nutshell. Now, the tests that I just showed you are only from TMSCA. If you want UIL A+, you go back to the video when I was showing you into the part where you just Google UIL A+ academic resources, and it'll give them to you for free, okay? Now, going over here, the TMSCA versus UIL, one of them is that, for TMSCA, there's more meets, there's more practice, and it's very fast paced. So it's perfect training as like a league, right? So you're using TMSCA to help prepare you for UIL, especially when you're in high school. Now, the nice thing about TMSCA is that there are state competitions for every level, elementary, middle school, and high school. So they do work hand in hand. As a matter of fact, a lot of the test writers for UIL are the same test writers for TMSCA. For UIL, what I've been noticing that it's more for, they'll have a district meet for elementary and middle school, but you don't advance. It's just like they have it, and it's more of like kind of getting the kids prepped for when they're in high school. Now, when they're in high school, they can start advancing. So for example, in March, they're gonna have the district meet for high school. If they advance, they get a certain place, they go to regionals and then to state. That's when you can start advancing for UIL. But the good thing is that TMSCA, which is a private group, and UIL, which is the public, they work hand in hand for them to help each other out. The next one that I want to go over is Kangaroo Math, and this is an international test. So what I've noticed about this one is that this is for K through 12. So kinder all the way through 12th grade. So it is a 75-minute multiple choice exam, which is more of puzzles and logic. Now for UIL and TMSCA, a lot of times it's more like recalling. The general math more of is like, it's not so much recalling, but it's not like a logic type of or puzzle type of questions, whereas Kangaroo Math is very catered to that. So I like it because it makes them think in a different way than they're normally used to. It's not your typical SAT questions. While SAT questions do have want them to think in a certain way, I feel like Kangaroo Math does a way better job in terms of getting them to think in a logic, instead of just like what's the rule or what's the trick. It's more of like thinking through the problem itself. So it does foster and builds a skill of creative reasoning, spatial and visual thinking, pattern discovery, non-routine problems, and it allows perseverance for sure. So, but this is only once a year, and it's usually given on the third Thursday in March, and you do have to register for this one. The only downfall is that right now El Paso doesn't have a center, which we plan on getting one, but usually like your major cities do have one. So that's Kangaroo Math. I'm really a big advocate for Kangaroo Math. The next one is MOEMS, which is Math Olympiad for elementary and middle school. There's a couple of elementaries here that do offer for kids to compete in that one. Now that one's for 4th through 6th grade. That's the upper level. That's the upper elementary, and then the middle school is 6th to 8th grade. And there's 5 contests per year. So there's 5 questions, and it's focused on reasoning, not speed whatsoever. I mean, they do get timed, but it's more of like kind of like Kangaroo Math. However, Kangaroo Math is multiple choice, whereas this one it's not multiple choice, and it's a nationwide test. So they'll have 5 in-depth problems for this test itself. Now for the 5 contests per year, it usually starts like in October, November, and every month they'll have a competition for that one. So I'm really big advocate for this one. This one ends up building to like the actual Olympiad, where they compete. They get the top kids from the nation. They compete against other schools. So this really helps them develop their math skills and not just be constrained to like for instance for Texas, like the TEKS or the Common Core if you're in another state. And this one really focuses on process over speed, and it allows them to struggle productively so they can think through the problem itself. The last one is the Math Bee, and this one, I love the fact that they're offering this at the district level, because it does give kids that are usually inclined in math to help them out. The only thing is it's just recall. So it's just like, for instance, like for kinder, they'll have them count by 2s, by 1s, what's the missing number. For like 1st and 2nd grade, it's like more addition and subtraction and multi-step addition and subtraction. For 3rd and 4th and 5th grade, it's more of like the multiplication and division and multi-step. So it's just a quick recall, fluency in basic skills, and it allows for public speaking. It is extremely nerve-wracking, even at my age, for me to be in front of everybody and answer a math question. And so it really helps build confidence being under pressure. So this one's just mainly just recall. But I am a proponent for them to participate in this one so they can build the necessary skills. You know, and the last thing, so again, the reason I made this video is so that I have a theory that if kids are exposed to competitions early in the manner that they're, you know, that they are in, like where they're timed and under pressure, I feel like it builds a skill and confidence in them knowing that, hey, I prepared for something. It is going to be timed and I'm going to feel pressure, but I feel like over time they're going to find confidence in the fact that they did prepare for it, which is what kids should find confidence in whenever they take a test in a class that they're in. Is, did I prepare for it? I'm nervous, yes, but did I prepare for it? Okay, I can find confidence in the fact that I know I am ready to a certain degree, you know, given how long they studied for, right? But that they're prepared for it and that they're confident and that they trust themselves in the preparation that they did. But if you have any questions, I'm going to be pushing out some more videos on you know, the TMSCA, UIL, but feel free to reach out to me. I'll put my email down there. Thank you.